Welcome to video number 4, The American Pageant, for Chapter 31, American Life in the Roaring Twenties. Culture went through a great deal of changes during the 1920s. By the beginning of the 1920s, many of the old writers, such as Henry James, Henry Adams, and William Dean Howells, had passed away, and those that had survived, like Edith Wharton and Willa Cather, were still popular. But many of the new writers came from different backgrounds. They were not Protestant New Englanders, and they came from a more diverse, less mainstream backgrounds. H.L. Mencken, the bad boy of Baltimore, wrote and found fault in much of what was going on in America during this time period. He wrote the monthly American Mercury. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote This Side of Paradise and The Great Gatsby, both of which captured the society of the Jazz Age, including an odd mix of glamour and the cruelty. Theodore Dreiser wrote as a realist, not a romantic, in An American Tragedy, about the murder of a pregnant working girl by her socially conscious lover. Ernest Hemingway wrote The Sun Also Rises and A Farewell to Arms, and became the voice for the lost generation, which was the young folks who had been ruined by the disillusionment of World War I. Sherwood Anderson wrote Winesburg, Ohio, describing small-town life in America. Sinclair Lewis disparaged small-town America in his Main Street and Babbitt. And William Faulkner's Soldier's Pay, The Sound and the Fury, and As I Lay Dying, all were very famous and stunning with his use of the new, choppy, stream of consciousness technique. Poetry was also innovative, and Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot were two very popular poets. Eugene O'Neill plays like strange interlude laid bare human emotions. Other famous writers included Claude McKay and Nora Zeal Hurston. Architecture also made its mark with the designs of Frank Lloyd Wright. Wright was an understudy of Louis Sullivan of Chicago skyscraper fame, and amazed people with his use of concrete, glass, and steel, and his unconventional theory that form follows function. Champion of skyscrapers, the Empire State Building debuted in 1931. There was much over-speculation during this time period in the 1920s, especially on Florida home properties, until a hurricane took care of that and did a lot of damage in Florida. Even during times of prosperity, many banks failed each year. This was somewhat of a warning of times to come. The whole system was built on very fragile credit, and the stock market's stellar rise made headline news and enticed investors to drop their savings into the market's volatility. Secretary of the Treasury Mellon reduced the amount of taxes that rich people had to pay, thus conceivably thrusting the burden onto the middle class. He reduced the national debt, though, but has since been accused of indirectly encouraging the bull market, which will lead to the stock market crash in 1929. Whatever the case, the prosperities of the 1920s were setting up the crash that would lead to the poverty and suffering of the 1930s. This is the works cited page. All images in this presentation are from the public domain.